story. We're going to hear about a woman who, the very second she signed her divorce papers, immediately canceled the 15 supplementary credit cards that were in her ex-husband's name. At that exact moment, he was busy booking a lavish engagement party costing $75,000 for his mistress, but a single sentence from the event planner froze him right in his tracks. Friends, in life, there are crossroads we never wish to face, and divorce is perhaps one of the most painful. After 20 long years dedicated body and soul to her family, the only thing the protagonist of our story had left in her hands was a thin sheet of paper weighed down by countless bitter memories, the divorce decree. However, what makes this story exceptional isn't the tears or the desperate pleas. The story begins right at the instant her ex-husband hurriedly hops into a car with his mistress, turning his back on the woman with whom he had shared half his life. In that moment, there was no breakdown, only a terrifying silence, the silence of an iceberg of contained patience finally beginning to crack. Instead of sinking into sadness, this woman chose a different path. She transformed her pain into strength, her years of patience into a meticulously calculated plan to claim the justice she was owed. From canceling the cards she had provided to her husband's entire family, to confronting those who had taken her selflessness for granted, every step she took was a firm declaration that she knew her worth at last. I clutched the folder containing our marriage certificate tightly. Only a few minutes had passed since I'd walked out of the county courthouse, yet the papers still felt strangely warm, as if holding the last breath of a story finally closed. A cold gust of wind sliced across the courthouse steps, making my thin jacket flutter. I shivered, but inside, something fierce burned, bright and steady. 20 years of emotional weight slowly lifted from my chest, like dust shaken off after a long winter. My ex-husband walked ahead of me, faster than he ever did when we were still together. As soon as the formalities were over, he didn't even look back. He yanked open the door of a sleek black car, climbed in, and slammed it shut. Through the tinted window, I made out the silhouette of a young woman in a pink coat leaning forward, laughing. His mistress. Of course, I didn't feel rage. Oddly enough, I felt free. For years, my life had been shrinking around his needs, his moods, his excuses. Now, with the stroke of a pen, I was expanding again. I pulled out my phone, opened the banking app, and stared at the list of supplementary cards. 15 of them, all active, all in use by him, his sister, and friends who treated my credit as if it were their personal inheritance. He once told me he needed liquidity for his business, and, like a fool blinded by loyalty, I handed him 15 cards without blinking. He'd used one of them, the one ending in 88886, to buy his mistress a $3,500 handbag. I remembered the moment I saw the transaction like a bruise touched too many times. Not today. My thumb hovered over the cancel button for a single heartbeat, then pressed. The system asked for confirmation. Confirm. A message popped up instantly. The supplementary card ending in 8886 has been successfully canceled. It felt like cutting a chain off my own ankle. One by one, I canceled all 15. Ping, ping, ping. Each notification chimed like a bell of liberation. Just as I finished canceling the last card, a voice note from my best friend, Zuri, flashed across my screen. She sounded breathless with urgency and a little amused. "Maka, you won't believe this. My client, the event director at the luxury hotel downtown, just saw your ex. He's there booking a huge engagement party for next month. $75,000? He's bragging like a peacock. Oh, he's in for a surprise, girl." I smiled a slow, cold smile I hadn't worn in years. Perfect timing. While he was out there building a new life with stolen money, I had just shut the faucet. I messaged Zuri back. "Don't worry, today he won't even manage to pay the deposit." I had no idea how right I was. I reached home feeling lighter than air. I bought a small bag of honey-roasted nuts from a street vendor, a small luxury I hadn't allowed myself in years. Their warmth seeped into my cold fingers, like a quiet promise. From now on, I whispered to myself, I live for me. Barely half an hour passed before violent banging rattled my front door. Then, a piercing voice, shrill, furious, unmistakable. "Maka! Open this door right now!" My ex-sister-in-law, of course. But she wasn't alone. I didn't know it yet, but opening that door would be the spark that lit the first fire of a much bigger war. We'll begin with the sister-in-law storming in. The pounding on my front door grew louder, harder, so violent that the wood shuddered beneath every strike. For a second, I wondered if she intended to break it down. I hadn't heard that voice in months, but the moment it sliced through the quiet hallway, old memories clawed up my spine like icy fingers. Maka! Open this door right now! I know you're in there! Don't play stupid! Her voice carried the entitled rage of someone who had fed for years on benefits she thought she deserved. And for years, I had let her. I had paid her overdue bills, covered impulsive purchases, even helped finance her failed boutique. She always swaggered around with the confidence of someone who believed my generosity was her birthright. But today, I wasn't the same woman she used to bully. With false gratitude and crocodile tears, I took a breath, squared my shoulders, and unlocked the door. The moment it cracked open, she shoved her way inside. Her lipstick was smeared, her hair was a wild bun, and her eyes, those eyes, were burning with outrage. "You really did it?" she snapped, jabbing a finger at my face. "You canceled all the cards. All 15? I stayed silent. Silence, I had learned, was more powerful than arguing. She threw her arms in the air dramatically. "My brother is humiliated right now. Do you have any idea what you've done? Humiliated? Interesting." A tiny spark of curiosity flickered inside me. "What happened?" I asked quietly. She scoffed. "Oh, don't play innocent. He tried paying the hotel deposit for his engagement party, and the card declined right in front of everyone. Even the event manager started talking to him like he was some kind of broke scammer." The irony was almost poetic. "And you," she continued, pacing like an enraged cat, "you think you can just do whatever you want now that the divorce is final? You think you can embarrass our family like this and walk away? Those cards were for all of us. Do you know how many things I have pending? My utilities, my rent, I raised a hand. "That's exactly the problem," I said. "None of those things are my responsibility anymore. They never were." Her mouth fell open, then snapped shut like a trap. "You ungrateful witch!" She spat the words like venom. "After all we did for you." A short, humorless laugh escaped my throat before I could stop it. "All you did for me?" I whispered. "Name one thing, just one." Her jaw clenched. She couldn't, because there was nothing. Her voice cracked with fury. "My brother said you'd turn into a monster the minute the divorce was finalized. And look at you! You're proving him right." I almost pitied her. Almost. But then she leaned in, her breath reeking of cheap coffee and desperation, and snarled, "You better reinstate those cards today, or I swear, Maka, I will destroy you. We will make your life hell." There it was. The old threat. The one they'd used for years. Before, it would have shattered me. But today, it only made me straighten my spine. "No," I said simply. Her eyes widened, then narrowed to slits. "You don't get to say no to this family." I tilted my head slightly. "I just did." She lunged toward me, hands raised. Maybe to grab my phone, maybe to shove me, maybe something worse. I didn't move. Something in my stillness must have startled her, because she stopped mid-step. "Get out," I said, each word slow and razor-sharp. Her breathing quickened. Her nostrils flared. She looked around my living room like she wanted to throw something. Then her phone pinged loudly. She pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and the color drained from her face. "What's wrong?" I asked. She swallowed hard. "My brother. He just texted me. He's coming here." Her voice trembled with equal parts fury and fear. "He's furious. He says you ruined everything, and he wants to talk to you alone, right now." I didn't answer, but inside, my heartbeat slowed. A calm settled over me, like a thick, protective cloak, because I knew something she didn't. He wasn't coming here to talk. He was coming because something far, far worse had just happened at the hotel, something he didn't want anyone to know. And the moment he walked through my door, the truth he'd been hiding for years would finally begin to crack open. We'll begin with the ex-husband arriving at the door. The house fell into an unnatural silence after my sister-in-law's trembling words. She kept pacing around my living room, chewing her thumb, muttering curses under her breath. Every few seconds, she'd glance at the door, as if expecting it to explode inward. "He's really coming," she said again. "And he's not in the mood for your attitude today, Maka." I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because for the first time in 20 years, I wasn't afraid of him walking through that door. I was curious to see how a man who had built his entire world on lies would behave the moment the ground beneath him finally shattered. Minutes stretched. The air felt heavy, the kind of heaviness right before a storm rips open the sky. Then, a car screeched outside, a car door slammed. Heavy footsteps marched up the pathway. My sister-in-law froze mid-sentence. "Maka," she whispered, "don't provoke him. Just apologize and fix this." Fix this? The absurdity almost made me laugh. Before I could answer, the front door flew open without a knock. He barged in, my ex-husband. He looked unrecognizable. His expensive blazer was half-buttoned, his shirt wrinkled, his hair messy like he'd run his hands through it 20 times in panic. Sweat glistened along his forehead, and a deep, wild fury burned through his eyes. But beneath that anger, I saw it, the thing he tried hardest to hide. Fear. "What the hell did you do?" he barked, slamming the door behind him so hard, a photo frame rattled against the wall. I stayed seated on the sofa, calm, composed, legs crossed, hands folded. It drove him insane. "You think this is a game?" he spat. "You think you can humiliate me like some cheap joke? Canceling 15 cards? What is wrong with you?" I raised an eyebrow. "I canceled cards that were under my name. You're welcome." His nostrils flared. "Don't play smart with me, Maka. You know exactly what you've done." His sister stepped between us. "Bro, she's being unreasonable. Shut up!" he snapped at her, shoving her aside. She stumbled back, stunned. I sat straighter, my voice low but steady. "Don't talk to her like that." He whipped his head toward me, eyes blazing. "You don't get to tell me anything anymore. You brought this on yourself. You want to ruin my life. Fine. But now you're going to fix it." I exhaled slowly, letting my silence speak. He began pacing, fast, frantic, like a trapped animal. "I had a contract at that hotel, an agreement. I put down my reputation today, and you made the payment fail in front of 10 people. 10! They laughed at me. Me! And whose fault is that?" I asked softly. He stopped pacing. His body stilled. His jaw tightened, and something dangerous flickered behind his eyes. But before he could explode, his phone buzzed sharply in his pocket. He snatched it out. One glance, then another. The color drained from his face so quickly, it was almost frightening. "No, no, no, this can't be happening," he whispered, voice cracking. His hands trembled. He reread the message 3 times, chest rising and falling in sudden panic. "What happened?" his sister asked anxiously. "What does it say?" He didn't answer her. He looked up at me instead. No more anger, just pure, suffocating dread. I had never seen him look at me like that. Not even when we fought. Not even when we separated. Not even when he cheated. This was different. This was fear that came from losing something he couldn't replace. "Maka!" he breathed, stepping closer, voice suddenly small. "Please. I need your help." My sister-in-law's mouth dropped open. "What? Why would she help you after everything? Bro, what's going on?" But he wasn't listening to her. He was staring at me with haunted eyes. And in that moment, I understood. Whatever message he just received, it wasn't about embarrassment. It wasn't about the hotel. It wasn't even about the canceled cards. It was something deeper, darker. Something he had been hiding long before I pressed cancel. Something that, now exposed, could destroy far more than his engagement party. "Maka!" he repeated, voice breaking. "I need you to come with me, right now. Please. Before everything gets worse." I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just watched him, because finally, after years of lies, manipulation, and betrayal, the truth was chasing him instead of me. And I knew this night was only the beginning. We'll reveal what's in that message and where he wants to take her. For a long moment, the room felt strangely fragile. Like one wrong breath could make the entire house collapse. My ex-husband stood frozen in the center of my living room, clutching his phone as if it were the last piece of a life slipping out of his hands. His sister kept pacing, throwing nervous glances between us. "Bro, say something! What's happening? Why do you need her? Why are you acting like someone died?" He ignored her completely. Instead, he looked at me. Really looked at me, as if I was no longer his ex-wife, but the only person who could save him. "Maka," he said softly. "Please. At least hear me out." It was almost surreal. This was the same man who had spent years talking over me, silencing me, dismissing me. But now his voice trembled. Not with anger, with fear. I crossed my arms. Then talk. He swallowed hard. His throat bobbed twice. I can't explain it here. Not with her around. He motioned to his sister. She gasped. Oh, wow! So now you suddenly trust her more than your own family? He snapped. This isn't about trust. This is about... He stopped, his jaw locked. He looked down at the phone again, like the words on that screen were knives. I took a slow step forward. What does the message say? His eyes flicked up to mine. For a moment, he looked young, almost boyish, like someone who had finally run out of places to hide. It's not just one message, he whispered. They've been coming all evening. I ignored the first two. The third one, he lifted the phone with shaking fingers. Is a warning. A warning. My heartbeat thudded once, steady, heavy. Before I could ask more, his sister snatched the phone from his hand. Give me that. Let me see. He lunged for it. No, don't. But she already saw the screen. And the scream that tore from her throat wasn't anger. It was fear. Oh my God. Oh my God, no. This can't, bro, what is this? Who is this? She stuttered. I stepped closer. Let me see. She hesitated. He closed his eyes in defeat. Then she handed me the phone. The message displayed was simple. Only one line. No name attached. No profile picture. Just a number I didn't recognize. But the words punched the air from my lungs. You thought you could erase the debt. You thought you could run. Payment is due tonight. Midnight. Bring maca, or everything burns. I blinked. What? My ex-husband pressed both hands to his face. I didn't want you involved. I swear. I tried to keep you out of it. But they know where you live. They know everything. And now they think you're the reason I canceled the cards. I stared at him, shocked but controlled. This is about debt? My voice was quiet. Too quiet. He nodded helplessly. Debt you didn't tell me about? Maca. It's not normal debt. These people, they don't forgive. They don't forget. Canceling the cards made them think I backed out of our arrangement. His sister clutched her chest. You borrowed money from them? Are you insane? What were you thinking? But I wasn't looking at her. My gaze was laser-focused on him. How much do you owe? He didn't answer, so I stepped closer. How much? His jaw trembled. $300,000. The room felt suddenly too small, too tight, too suffocating. You borrowed that much, I whispered, while telling me your business was doing great? He winced. I was desperate. The company was dying. I needed to look stable for investors. I thought I could fix it before you found out, by using my cards? No, he shouted, then lowered his voice. No. The cards were for her, the mistress. My skin prickled with cold disbelief. So you borrowed money from dangerous people to finance an engagement party for the woman you cheated on me with? He shut his eyes, shame swallowing his voice. Yes. It was pathetic. Not because he admitted it, but because he meant it. His sister whispered, horrified. They said everything burns. What did you promise them? He didn't answer, and that was all the answer we needed. I stepped back, suddenly aware of the danger crawling under my skin. So why do they want me? I asked. His voice dropped to a whisper. Because I told them you were my financial backup, my guarantee. I froze. You used my name, my words cracked like breaking glass. I didn't think they'd ever need it, he pleaded. I thought I'd pay them back before anything happened, but today, with the card cancellations, they think I'm running. Anger boiled in my veins. But beneath it, a cold clarity emerged. This man hadn't just destroyed our marriage. He had dragged my name into something far darker. And now, something, or someone, was coming. He stepped closer. Maca, please, if you come with me now, maybe I can talk to them. Explain it. Fix it. If you don't, they'll come here. Tonight. Outside, a car engine rumbled. Soft. Low. Too slow to be casual. His sister's eyes widened. Who is that? My ex-husband paled. He whispered the words I never expected to hear. They're here. Continues with the car outside and their arrival. The rumble of the engine outside wasn't loud, but it felt louder than thunder, a slow, deliberate hum, as if the driver wasn't arriving, but approaching with a purpose. My ex-husband went completely still, his chest rising and falling in quick, shallow breaths. His sister clamped a hand over her mouth, eyes wide with animal-like fear. I walked to the window, not hurried, not trembling, just aware. The curtains were slightly parted, just enough for me to see the street. A black SUV I didn't recognize idled under the streetlight, windows tinted, headlights off, engine still running. A cold shiver crawled down my spine. "Is that them?" I whispered. My ex-husband didn't come closer. He didn't need to. I heard the panic in his voice when he said, "Yes." His sister staggered backward. "Bro, what did you get us into?" He rubbed his hands over his face, pacing again. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. They don't come to people's houses unless they think you're hiding something." I turned slowly toward him. "Hiding something like your mistress? Your engagement money? The fact you spent every loan payment on impressing a girl half your age?" He flinched like I'd slapped him. But before he could respond, 3 things happened almost at once. 1. The car door opened. 2. A tall figure stepped out. 3. Someone knocked on my door. But it wasn't an angry knock. It was soft, slow, deliberate. I felt something icy creep under my skin. His sister let out a strangled gasp. "Don't open it! Don't open!" But the knocking continued. 3 times, each knock heavier than the last. "Maka!" my ex-husband whispered. "Whatever happens, let me talk. Don't make eye contact with them." I stared at him. "Why?" "Because if they think you're strong, they'll test it. If they think you're scared, they'll use it. Just let me." Another knock. Louder, more urgent. This time, a voice followed. A male voice. Calm, polite, chillingly steady. "Good evening. We know you're inside. We just want to talk. Just want to talk." Men like this never just wanted anything. My ex-husband's sister clung to him, trembling. "Please don't let them in. Please," he pried her off. "We have no choice. If we don't open it, they'll break it down." I watched him. A man who once strutted with ego and arrogance, now trembling like a trapped mouse. And then the voice came again. "Maka! We came to speak with you." They knew my name. My stomach dropped. My heart didn't just beat, it pounded like it was trying to break free. I glanced at my ex-husband. "You told them my name," I said hollowly. He closed his eyes. "I told them. Everything. Everything." That one word held more betrayal than the affair itself. "And you expect me to go with you?" I asked quietly. He nodded, desperate. "They won't leave unless you do." The knocking stopped. A long moment passed. Then a paper slid under the door. I stared at it. A white envelope. No name on it. Just one line, handwritten across the front. "Time's up." His sister screamed. My ex-husband staggered backward, nearly tripping over my rug. I bent down slowly and picked up the envelope. Inside was a single photograph. Of my house. Taken from outside. Tonight. From the SUV. My blood ran cold. Behind the photo was a smaller note. "Step outside alone, or we come in." My ex-husband grabbed my arm. "No, don't go, I'll talk to them. I can handle this." I looked at him. Really looked. This was a man who couldn't handle a declined credit card without calling me. A man who borrowed money from dangerous people to impress a woman he'd known for 6 months. A man who dragged my name into debt I didn't even know existed. He couldn't handle anything. I took a breath. A long, steady one. Because somewhere inside me, under the fear, under the anger, under the betrayal, something sharper had awakened. Strength. I pulled my arm free. "I'm going!" His sister shrieked. "Maka, are you crazy?" But I didn't answer her. I stepped toward the door. One step, another. With each one, my mind flashed with the opening scene. That moment I'd been holding inside me since the beginning. That moment this story began with. The moment I was standing in the dark, facing someone whose face I couldn't yet reveal. My ex-husband's voice cracked behind me. "Maka, please, don't open that door." I placed my hand on the doorknob. And as the metal chilled my skin, a voice from outside whispered, inches from the door. "We're waiting. We'll reveal who is outside and what they want." For a moment, The doorknob felt strangely alive beneath my hand, as if it were breathing with me. A thin sheet of wood separated me from the unknown, from the men who somehow knew my name, from the trouble my ex-husband had dragged to my doorstep. Behind me, his sister whispered a prayer under her breath. My ex-husband leaned against the wall, hands trembling so violently he had to bury them in his pockets to hide it. The silence outside was so deep, I could hear my own pulse in my ears. I turned the knob. Slowly, quietly, and right when it clicked, a large hand pressed against the door from the outside, not pushing it open, just stopping me from opening it. A low voice spoke through the crack. "Good! You came!" Something in that tone told me this man was used to people obeying him. I pushed the door open another inch. The hand didn't move away, but it didn't stop me either, only guided the pace. When the door finally slid open just enough for me to see, my breath caught. Two men stood on the porch, dressed in black. Not uniforms, not suits, just dark clothes that didn't belong to anyone who earned an honest living. The one closest to me had a shaved head, sharp jaw, and eyes so steady they felt carved out of stone. His partner stood slightly behind him, arms crossed, scanning the street like they were expecting someone, or watching for witnesses. The SUV hummed behind them, engine still running, a bad sign. The first man tilted his head, studying me in silence. "Maka Jones?" I swallowed. "Yes, you're smarter than he is," he said, glancing over my shoulder as if he could see my ex-husband hiding inside. "Thank you for opening the door." "What do you want with me?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice even. He handed me another envelope, much thicker than the first one. The weight of it alone made my stomach flip. "Read it," he said. My hands shook slightly as I opened it. Inside were pages of documents, bank slips, loan agreements, screenshots, voice notes, photos of my ex-husband, some with him laughing, some with him gambling, some with him handing over a card, my card. A chill crawled up my spine. The man pointed at the documents. "All of this debt was taken out on the credit line attached to your cards." My throat tightened. "That's impossible. I canceled the cards." I thought, "You thought canceling them today would erase what he's done for the past 6 months," he cut in calmly. "It doesn't work like that." I stared at the numbers. $50,000, $12,000, $9,500, $31,200, all stacked under my name. My knees almost gave out. Behind me, I heard my ex-husband whisper, "Oh God!" The bald man took one step closer, lowering his voice. "You're responsible for the debt. Legally. He took it out using the cards you provided. He signed in your place. He forged your authorization." I felt like the world tilted sideways. Forged, used, trapped. "How long do I have?" I whispered. The man didn't blink. 3 days. My heart lurched. His voice remained calm, almost gentle, which somehow made it even more terrifying. "We don't like going after women, and we don't want to cause trouble in your home, but money is money. Whoever's name is on the papers is responsible." He leaned slightly closer. "And sweetheart, your name is on every single one." A wave of cold washed over me. I forced myself to stand straighter, to breathe, to think, what happens in 3 days if I can't pay? He smiled. Not unkindly, not cruelly, just knowingly. "You won't like the answer." For the first time, the second man spoke. "Let her breathe, brother. She's not the one who ran up the bill." He nodded toward my ex-husband inside. "He is." My ex-husband stumbled forward. "Please, please don't involve her. I'll pay everything back. I just need time." "You had time," the bald man snapped, turning his hard gaze on him. "Instead, you threw a $75,000 engagement party with stolen credit." I stiffened. "How do you know about the engagement party?" The man's eyes flicked to me. "We know everything." A breeze rustled through the quiet street, lifting the corner of the papers in my hand. The second man stepped forward. 3 days. After that, we come back. And next time, he tapped the envelope. "We won't be asking." Without another word, both men returned to the SUV. The door slammed shut. The engine revved. The car pulled away so slowly, it felt deliberate like a warning. I stood frozen on the doorstep, the thick envelope shaking in my hands. Behind me, my ex-husband whispered, "Maka, please don't hate me. I swear I never meant for this to fall on you." I turned slowly toward him. The street was quiet. The night felt colder. My future felt darker. But my voice came out steady. You didn't just break our marriage, Galani. I lifted the envelope of forged debts. You tried to destroy my life. His face crumpled. He stepped forward. But I took one step back. Because in that moment, I realized something I had never expected. The opening scene of this story. That mysterious moment where I stood face to face with someone in the dark. That moment was no longer in the future. It was beginning now, and I wasn't ready for what was coming next. When she finished explaining everything, every detail, every message she claimed my husband had sent, I just sat there staring at the woman in front of me, feeling like the room was slowly tilting. My breath had turned shallow, my palms had gone cold, and the world felt too small for the storm rising inside me. She clicked her tongue and leaned in. Honestly, I thought you already knew, she whispered, like she enjoyed the way my chest rose and fell with panic. But I forced myself to stay calm. Stay still. Stay silent. She wanted a reaction. She wanted me angry. She wanted to see me crack. So I did the opposite. I took a sip of water, my hand barely steady, and asked softly, "Can you show me the proof?" Her expression changed immediately. Just a flicker, barely visible. But I caught it. That tiny hesitation. That 1 second delay. It told me everything I needed to know. She didn't have proof. At least, not the kind of proof she claimed. Still, she pulled out her phone with exaggerated confidence and started scrolling. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Her finger kept moving, but the screen stayed empty. Threads opened, closed, reopened, checked again. A tight smile tugged at my lips, not because I found it funny, but because I finally felt the shift. She wasn't confident anymore. She was stalling. And then she said, I must have deleted the messages. But trust me, they were there. There it was, the crack in her story. I leaned back and crossed my arms, watching her squirm under the weight of her own lie. Interesting, I said quietly. Because you remember every detail. Except the part that actually matters, she blinked. Her jaw tightened. Her shoulders stiffened. Suddenly, she wasn't the graceful, composed woman who walked in. She was someone exposed, cornered, defensive. She grabbed her bag, standing abruptly. Look, I came here to help you. If you don't want to believe me, that's your problem. I stood too, keeping my voice calm but firm. No. You came here because you wanted something, and now that you didn't get the reaction you were hoping for, you're leaving. Her eyes flashed with something dark. Anger? Guilt? Fear? I couldn't tell. But then she said something that sent a sharp chill through me. Fine. Keep pretending your husband is innocent. Just don't come crying to me when you finally learn what he's capable of. And she walked out. Just like that. The door shut with a soft click, but the silence she left behind felt loud. I stared at the door for several seconds, letting her final words sink into my chest. Not because I believed them, but because, somewhere deep inside, a small part of me wondered, what if there was some truth hidden between her lies? What if she wasn't making everything up? What if she really knew something I didn't? That's when my phone vibrated violently on the table, snapping me out of my thoughts. One message. From my husband. We need to talk. Right now. My heart dropped. Why now? Why suddenly? Why right after she left? Was it a coincidence? Or had he sensed something shifting? I stared at the screen, my hand trembling slightly. But before I could reply, another message came. This time, only 4 words. I can explain everything. Everything? My stomach tightened. My breath caught. He knew. He knew something had reached me, and he was preparing to defend himself before I even asked. But what frightened me wasn't the messages. It was the fact that he somehow knew I needed an explanation before I even told him, which meant someone very close had already told him. But who? Was it the woman who had just left? Was she in contact with him? Were they working together? Or was she trying to trap him and me? I couldn't answer any of it yet. All I knew was this. The truth was closer than ever, and someone was desperately trying to control it. Before I could process another thought, my doorbell rang. Once, twice, loud, urgent, unmistakably familiar. It was him, my husband, standing on the other side, and I had no idea what, or who, I was about to face. When the doorbell rang a third time, loud, impatient, almost desperate. I froze in the middle of my living room. I wasn't ready, not for him, not for the answers, not for the storm his voice would bring. A part of me wanted to turn off the lights and pretend I wasn't home. Another part, a stronger part, wanted to rip the door open and demand the truth he'd kept hidden for so long. But my hands felt numb. I stood there, breathing hard, staring at the door as if it could swallow me whole. Finally, I forced myself forward, one slow, trembling step at a time, and placed my hand on the handle. Before I could turn it, his voice came through the door. "Please, just open it. I know she was here." My heart slammed against my ribs. He knew. He really knew. I swallowed hard, the metallic taste of fear sitting heavy on my tongue. And then, with a shaky breath, I unlocked the door. It opened halfway before I could pull it fully, because he was already pushing from the other side. My husband stepped in. He looked different. Not angry. Not defensive. Just exhausted. Eyes red, hair messy, clothes wrinkled like he'd been pulling at them for hours. He shut the door behind him and leaned against it, breathing like he'd run miles. This wasn't the man who usually hid behind calm excuses and half-truths. This man looked cornered, hunted. "Where is she?" he asked, scanning the room. "She left," I said quietly, "after telling me everything." His head snapped toward me. "Everything?" His voice cracked on the word. I crossed my arms, refusing to break eye contact. "You tell me," I replied. "What exactly is she talking about?" He ran a hand through his hair, pacing, one step, two steps, turning sharply, then back again, the way someone does when they're moments away from breaking. Then he stopped. "Listen. Whatever she told you, she twisted it. She always twists it." His voice rose slightly. "She wants you to hate me. I didn't move, didn't speak, didn't react. I wanted him to keep talking, to reveal more, to slip." He took a step toward me, reaching out, then pulled his hand back, like touching me right now might burn. "I was trying to protect you," he whispered. My chest tightened with a painful, bitter laugh. "Protect me? By what? Lying to me? Hiding things? Letting another woman walk into my house and claim you betrayed me?" He flinched. A full, visible flinch. "She shouldn't have come here," he muttered. "She promised she wouldn't." I stiffened. "Promised?" The word slipped out sharper than a knife. He closed his eyes. "Yes," he said. "Because we had a deal. A deal." Something cold slid down my spine. "What deal?" I asked, my voice suddenly very still, very quiet. He hesitated. Too long. Way too long. Then he spoke. "She wasn't supposed to talk to you. She wasn't supposed to involve you. I agreed to help her with something. And in return, she said she'd stay away from us. From our life." My stomach twisted. "She came here because she's angry I didn't give her what she wanted." He looked at me with pained eyes. That's the truth. But nothing added up. Nothing made sense. So I asked the question, sitting like a stone in my throat. "What did she want from you?" He froze. His lips parted. His breath halted. His eyes darkened with something that wasn't guilt, but pure fear. "That's not important," he whispered. "Yes," I said, stepping closer. "It is." He turned away from me, not because he was thinking, but because he couldn't look me in the eye and lie. "She's dangerous," he said finally. "You don't know what she's capable of." I felt my pulse hammering in my ears. "And you do," I whispered. His silence answered the question for him. Then he said something that made the air in the room collapse around us. "If she told you even half of what she has on me, then I need you to trust me. Because if this gets out, I could lose everything. Everything." The word felt heavy, loaded, terrifying. "What exactly could you lose?" I asked, voice barely audible. He turned around slowly, and for the first time in our entire marriage, I saw real fear in his eyes. Not fear of losing me, not fear of being misunderstood, but fear of something much bigger, something he had been hiding long before she entered the picture. And then he said the words I was never prepared to hear. "Because she's not just someone from my past. She's someone who has the power to destroy my future." The room went silent. Too silent. A kind of silence that meant the ground beneath us was about to split open. Who is she really? What does she have over him? And what truth is he still hiding? For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't say. The way his shoulders tensed, the way his eyes avoided mine, the way his voice dropped into a tone I had never heard in all the years of knowing him. She can destroy my future. That sentence kept echoing in my head like a warning. I stepped back, my voice trembling but firm. Tell me who she is, he swallowed hard. His jaw tightened, his fingers curled into fists. I can't. The answer came too fast, like it was instinct, not thought. I felt something inside me snap softly, like a thread pulled too tight. You can't, I repeated, or you won't. He dragged a hand across his face, pacing again, but this time slower. Agitated, cornered, torn between truth and fear. Please, he said finally, you need to trust me. I laughed, quiet, hollow, disbelieving. Trust you? You walked in here telling me that woman could ruin your future, and you expect me to trust you without explaining why she has that power? He winced, like the words physically hurt him. She wasn't supposed to know where you lived, he said. She wasn't supposed to come near you, ever. I kept my end. I did everything she asked. I stopped breathing for a second. Everything. She asked? He froze. His eyes dropped to the floor. What did she make you do? He didn't answer. Not even a lie. Not even an excuse. Just silence. A silence louder than any confession. My stomach twisted with nausea, fear, anger. So many emotions tangled so tightly, I couldn't separate them anymore. Who is she? I demanded. He lifted his eyes slowly. Glassier than before. Colder. Heavier. She's someone I should have stayed away from, he whispered. Someone I owed. And someone who never forgives. Owed? My heartbeat stumbled. What could you possibly owe her? His face shifted, this time with something deeper than fear. Shame. I made a mistake, he said. A long time ago. Before us. Before we built anything. I felt the couch press against the back of my knees, and I sat down without meaning to. The room started to blur around the edges. What kind of mistake? I asked. He hesitated. Not the hesitation of someone searching for words, but of someone terrified of the consequences of speaking them. Finally, in a strained whisper, he said the one sentence that tied my stomach in knots. She saved me from something, and I paid her back with something worse. My eyes widened. What do you mean? He shook his head, stepping away from me like the walls were closing in. She warned me she'd come for me one day. She warned me she'd take everything. I thought I had more time. My hands trembled. Take everything. Like what? He closed his eyes. Everything I've built. Everything I've worked for. Everything that keeps my life intact. His voice cracked. And everyone I love. The words hit me like ice water. So she is trying to ruin our marriage? I asked. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked toward the window, staring out like someone watching for danger. She wants revenge, he said. And the easiest way to hurt me is through you. I felt my throat tighten. So she lied about the messages? Another pause. A long one. Too long. When he finally turned back, his voice was low, broken, almost defeated. Some messages were real, he whispered, but not the way she made them sound. My breath hitched. What messages? He sank onto the edge of the table, looking older, exhausted. Like secrets were eating him alive. She reached out to me months ago, he said. And I replied. Only because I was trying to shut her down, trying to stop her from showing up in our lives. My heart dropped. You replied? I whispered. Without telling me? He nodded slowly. I didn't want to scare you. I thought if I handled it quietly, she'd disappear. My chest tightened. And did she disappear? No, he said, voice hollow. She escalated. I felt the world tilt a little. So what does she want now? His jaw clenched, knuckles whitening. She wants me to give her something I don't have anymore, he whispered. Something she thinks I'm hiding. I opened my mouth to ask what, but he suddenly looked toward the door, eyes narrowing in alarm. A sound. A faint one. Something dropped outside the hallway. A soft thump. He stood instantly, tense, alert, like a man who'd been hunted before. "She's here," he said under his breath. I know that sound. I felt my blood run cold. Here? Again? Before I could process, a shadow moved under the door. A soft knock echoed through the apartment. Slow, measured, intentionally calm. My husband's face drained of color. He whispered one last sentence before the knock came again louder. A sentence that made the entire room freeze. "If she's at this door right now, then everything I've been hiding is about to explode." The door opens, and nothing will ever be the same. The knocking didn't stop. It wasn't frantic. It wasn't angry. It wasn't desperate. It was slow, calculated, like someone tapping directly on the rhythm of my heartbeat just to watch it stumble. My husband stood frozen a few feet from the door. His jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscles twitching under his skin. His breath came in sharp, shallow bursts, like he already knew whatever waited on the other side would tear the last thread holding his life together. Another knock, softer this time, almost gentle, but somehow, that made it worse. I whispered, "Is it her?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The fear in his eyes was enough. But I needed to understand. I needed answers. I needed the truth he kept wrapping in half-confessions and broken hints. So I stepped forward, but he caught my wrist before I reached the door. "Don't," he whispered. His voice shook. Actually shook. "I'm serious. Don't open it." I stared at him. This man who had always been steady, always composed, always too calm for his own good. And now he looked like a little boy, hiding from a monster only he could see. "What does she want from you?" I asked quietly. His grip tightened, desperate. "I'll explain everything," he said. Just. Not with her standing outside. Another knock rang through the apartment. Louder this time. More confident. Almost annoyed that we were taking too long. My husband closed his eyes, exhaling shakily. "She's not going to leave until she gets what she wants," he whispered. "Then tell me what that is," I snapped, anger mixing with fear until it burned in my chest. He opened his eyes, meeting mine with a helplessness I had never seen in him. "It's not something I can give her," he said. "It's something she believes I have. Something she's convinced I stole." Stole? The word cut through my confusion like a blade. "What could you possibly steal from someone like her?" I demanded. His jaw tightened. "Something valuable," he whispered. "Something I never wanted." Before I could press further, the doorknob turned. Slowly. Deliberately. It twisted once. Twice. Then stopped. Like she wanted us to know she could walk in any second. My husband moved in front of me instinctively, shielding me with his body. "Stay behind me," he said. "Why?" I whispered. "What is she going to do?" "She's unpredictable," he murmured. "And when she doesn't get what she wants, she becomes dangerous. Dangerous." The word sent a cold shiver down my spine. But I wasn't backing away. Not this time. "Move," I said softly, placing a hand on his arm. "I need to see her." "No," he hissed. "You don't—" "Yes," I said, louder now. "I need to see the face of the woman who walked into my home pretending to be the victim. The woman you made a deal with. The woman who thinks she owns a piece of your life." He clenched his teeth, but I could see him breaking. He knew I wasn't asking anymore. I stepped closer to the door, feeling my pulse in my throat. My husband reached out as if to stop me, but it was too late. Because before I could touch the handle, a voice drifted through the door. Soft. Cold. Terrifyingly calm. "Open the door, darling. We need to finish what he started." My blood ran ice cold. She knew I was there. She knew I could hear her. She wanted me to. My husband's face paled. She knocked again. 3 slow, rhythmic taps. And then she said something that made my heart slam painfully against my ribs. "You deserve to know the truth about him." I swallowed hard. But then she added one more line, a line that changed everything. "And you deserve to know who I really am." The hallway went silent. Too silent. My husband whispered, "Don't open it, please, I beg you." But my hand was already on the handle. Every lie, every secret, every half-truth, every fear. It all led to this moment. I turned the lock. My husband whispered my name, desperate, pleading, but his voice faded behind the roar in my ears. I pulled the door open, and the woman standing on the other side was not the same woman who walked into my house earlier. Her expression, her posture, her eyes, everything was different. And then I understood this wasn't about jealousy, or obsession, or revenge. This was something much darker. She smiled, a slow, eerie smile that didn't reach her eyes, and she said, "Hello again." The door opened fully, and for a moment, I forgot how to breathe, because the woman standing there, the woman who had come into my home hours earlier, pretending to be hurt, fragile, misunderstood, was gone. This version of her was colder, sharper, eyes steady, unblinking, carrying a confidence that made the hallway feel too small to contain her. Her hair was pulled back, her makeup gone, her expression stripped of softness. It was like she had shed a mask. And what terrified me most was the fact that my husband looked like he was staring at a ghost he never wanted to see again. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. My husband tried to block her path, but she brushed past him like he didn't matter. "Move," she whispered, not even looking at him. "I'm not here for you." Her eyes found mine, and the intensity in them made my hands go numb. I forced air into my lungs. "What do you want from us?" She tilted her head, studying me, a slow, unsettling smile tugging at the corner of her lips. "From you?" she said. "Nothing you aren't already ready to give." My stomach tightened. My husband stepped forward. "Enough. Say what you came to say and leave." She turned to him slowly, and her smile vanished. "Do you really want her to hear it from you?" she asked. "After all the years you've lied to her face?" He flinched, a full-body flinch. She laughed softly. Then she looked back at me, this time with something almost pitying. "You have no idea who you married, do you?" I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. She continued, voice smooth, steady, terrifyingly calm. "You thought I came here because I wanted your husband." She shook her head. "That was never the reason." My heartbeat thundered. "Then why?" I whispered. Her eyes softened for one moment, one brief, fleeting moment, like she regretted what she was about to say. Then she spoke the words that shattered every assumption I had. "I came because he made a promise to me. One he broke the second he met you." A sharp pain shot through my chest. Me? This was about me? "What promise?" I demanded. She looked at my husband. "Go on, tell her." He shook his head. "Not here, not like this." Her jaw tightened. "Say it." He didn't. He couldn't. So she turned back to me, eyes blazing. "You know what hurts more than betrayal?" she whispered. "Being erased, being replaced, being treated like you never existed." I felt my throat close. "You and he." My voice trembled. "You had a relationship?" She smiled, but it wasn't a romantic smile. It was bitter, broken, heavy. "No," she said, "not the way you think." My confusion deepened. My husband stepped forward again, voice strained. "Please, stop." But she didn't. She leaned closer to me, lowering her voice to a chilling whisper. "He didn't just walk away from me. He walked away from what we shared, from what we survived, together, from what he owed me, owed." She'd used that word before. My pulse hammered in my ears. "What did he owe you?" I whispered. Her breath trembled. Just slightly, but enough for me to catch it. And then she said, "His life." My world tilted. My husband grabbed her arm. "Don't do this." She pulled away violently. "No, you don't get to hide anymore. Not after what you've done." "What did he do?" I asked, voice cracking. She looked at me, really looked at me, with eyes full of pain so raw it felt like a wound. "He left me behind," she said softly, "in a place where leaving someone behind means they die." My breath stopped. "A place? What place?" I whispered. My husband stepped between us. "That's enough. She doesn't need to know." Her voice rose, not loud, but sharp, cutting through the air like a blade. "Yes, she does. She deserves the truth. Not this way, he yelled for the first time. But she wasn't listening. She pointed at him, hands trembling with rage. You walked away from the one person who saved you. Her voice cracked. You walked away from the only person who knows what you really are. I froze. What he really is? My husband turned away, running both hands through his hair, pacing like a man on the verge of breaking apart. I whispered, "Please, someone tell me what's going on." The woman stepped closer, her expression shifting. Not angry now, not cold, but heartbreakingly human. She whispered 3 words that made my legs buckle. I'm not his past. I'm the reason he's alive. And he was supposed to be the reason I survived, too. My knees went weak. But before I could ask what she meant, my husband shouted, voice shaking with a pain I had never heard from him. Stop! If she hears the rest, everything falls apart. I turned to him, tears burning in my eyes. Then let it fall. He stared at me, eyes wide, terrified, defeated. The woman looked at him, too. And her face softened into something almost mournful. Then she whispered the words that ripped the truth wide open. Tell her what happened the night we both almost died. The truth of the night they almost died. Silence. A heavy, suffocating silence filled the room. So thick it felt like the air itself had weight. My heart slammed against my ribs. What night? I whispered. What happened between you two? Neither of them spoke. My husband stood near the window, fingers digging into the curtains, chest rising and falling, like he was struggling to keep himself from collapsing. The woman, this stranger who somehow seemed to know my husband better than I ever had, looked at him with an expression I couldn't decipher. Anger? Pain? A heartbreak older than our marriage itself. Finally, I stepped forward. If there's something I should know, then say it. The woman inhaled deeply, grounding herself before she spoke. It happened 12 years ago, she said quietly. The night we both almost died. My husband slammed his fist against the wall. Don't drag her into it. She has nothing to do with that part of my life. The woman's voice hardened. She has everything to do with it, because she built a life with a version of you that doesn't exist. I recoiled. He closed his eyes, jaw tightening. I changed, he muttered. You ran, she corrected, and you left me behind. My pulse pounded so loudly, I felt like the room was spinning. I looked at her. What happened that night? She wrapped her arms around herself, as though reliving something that physically hurt. It was winter, one of the coldest nights of the year. We were working in a remote area, isolated, dangerous, a place where people don't go unless they're desperate or doing something they shouldn't. My breaths came shallow. What were you two doing there? I asked. She didn't answer directly. Instead, she continued. There was an accident, not a small one. A violent one. A shiver ran through her body. The kind that forces you to choose between dying quietly or doing something unforgivable just to survive. My husband's voice cracked. Enough. But she raised her voice over his. The car flipped twice. The windshield shattered. We were trapped, injured, bleeding. Her throat tightened. No one knew where we were. No one was coming. I felt a chill crawl across my skin. We crawled out of the wreck with nothing but each other, she continued, and the freezing wind cut so deep it felt like knives. We couldn't walk, couldn't think. Every breath felt like it was crystallizing inside us. She looked directly into my eyes. Do you know what it feels like to be so close to death that you start bargaining with it? I swallowed, my mouth dry. She turned her gaze to my husband. We had 2 choices. Freeze or fight. A tear slid down her cheek, her first sign of vulnerability. And your husband chose to fight. But not for me. Not for us. He fought for himself. My husband spun around. That's not true, she screamed back. You left me there. Her voice cracked so violently that it felt like a wound opened in the center of the room. He stepped forward, shaking. I left to get help. You know that? You left to save yourself, she choked out. You told me you'd be back. You said you would drag someone there, anyone, even if you had to crawl. And I believed you. I waited. I screamed your name. I bled into the snow waiting for you to keep your promise. My head spun. My husband looked like he was about to break apart. You don't understand, he whispered to her. You don't know what happened after she cut him off. I woke up in a hospital 3 days later, she said. Alone, no family, no friends, no one waiting. Her voice trembled. They told me I had hypothermia, broken ribs, a concussion. I barely survived. She took a shaky step forward. And do you know what they told me? Her voice dropped to a whisper. They said I was found by a stranger, a random passerby. Not you. You didn't come back. My husband's knees buckled, and he gripped the edge of the table to stay upright. That's not how it happened, he whispered. But he didn't elaborate. He couldn't, because she continued in a voice laced with betrayal. After the accident, you disappeared from my life completely. No calls, no messages, not even guilt. She blinked back tears. You started dating her soon after. My breath caught in my throat. Me. She meant me. Her eyes softened when they met mine. You became his new life, his fresh start. The life he created by pretending I had never existed. My legs felt weak. My husband slowly lifted his eyes to mine. They were full of fear. Fear of losing the last thing he had left. The lie he had lived inside for too long. I swear, he said, voice cracking. I didn't mean to hurt her. I didn't know how to fix what happened. I thought the past would stay buried if I stayed away from it. Her laugh was hollow. And did it? His silence was the answer. I stepped back, clutching the sofa for support. You built 20 years with me on top of that night, I whispered. All that pain. And you never said a word. He reached for me, but I stepped farther away. The woman watched us both, her expression torn between victory and heartbreak. But that's not the worst part, she whispered. I froze. My husband went still too, like he already knew what she was about to say. Her next words came out like the crack of thunder. He didn't just leave me behind that night. She took a breath. He left something else behind too. My heart dropped. What? I whispered. She looked at me, eyes filled with a devastating sadness. And then she said, he left a life behind, one he never came back for. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was scared. Not because I felt betrayed again, but because, for the first time in years, my heart was finally choosing me. Morning light crept into the room, a soft gold brushing against my face. I sat on the edge of the bed, fingers tangled together, breathing slowly, calmly, something I hadn't done in a long time. Then I heard footsteps. Slow, heavy, familiar. He stood in the doorway like a ghost who didn't know if he still belonged to the world. My husband. His eyes were swollen from crying, his face pale, his shoulders sunken. He looked like someone who had been fighting a losing battle inside his own mind. Can I sit? He whispered. I nodded. He sat at the edge of the sofa, staring at the floor. The same man who once screamed, belittled, and controlled every part of my life, now trembling like a child waiting for punishment. After minutes of silence, he finally spoke without lifting his head. You saved me from everything, he said, voice breaking. And in return, I destroyed everything in you. My throat tightened, not because of his words, but because a part of me had waited years for him to realize the truth. He continued. When you stopped crying, he said softly, that scared me the most, because it meant I no longer had power over you. I inhaled sharply. That was it. The truth behind every insult, every manipulation, every moment he made me feel small. He didn't want a partner. He wanted control. He slowly looked up, and in that moment, I saw a man completely shattered. Not by losing me, but by finally seeing what he had become. I don't want to go back to how we were, he whispered. I want you to be free. Even if that freedom doesn't include me. I felt tears well in my eyes, not for him, but for the woman I used to be, who waited, begged, hoped, and cried. She didn't exist anymore. My voice was steady when I spoke. I'm not leaving because I hate you, I said quietly. I'm leaving because I finally love myself. His face crumbled, but I didn't look away. For years, he made every decision in our home. But today, I was making the final one. I stood up. He didn't move, just watched me like he was memorizing every part of me he never bothered to appreciate before. I walked to the door. My hand rested on the knob. He whispered one last time, barely audible. I hope, one day, someone looks at you the way I should have. I didn't turn around. I didn't break. I didn't apologize. I simply stepped out, and for the first time in my life, the world outside didn't feel frightening. It felt like mine. The air hit my face with a cold rush. But instead of shivering, I smiled. A small, quiet smile. The kind that grows only when a person chooses themselves after a lifetime of choosing everyone else. As I walked away, the memory of my first scream in that dark room returned. The scream that began this entire story. Only, now I understood it. It wasn't a scream of fear. It wasn't a scream of weakness. It was the scream of a woman who was finally being born. A woman who survived. A woman who healed. A woman who rose. And as the door behind me clicked shut for the very last time, I whispered to myself, I am free. Sometimes, the moment you think your life is falling apart is the moment it's finally falling into place. Healing is not about forgetting who hurt you. It's about remembering who you are. It's about choosing peace over chaos, self-respect over fear, and strength over silence. No matter who tried to break you, you are still here. You are still standing. And your story isn't over, it's just beginning. Did this story touch your heart? And tell me, which city or country are you listening from today? I'd truly love to hear from you in the comments. Your support means more than you know. If you enjoyed this story and want to help me continue creating more life-changing narratives, you can send a super thanks. Your kindness helps this channel, and I'm deeply grateful for it. I can't wait to read your thoughts and feelings about this story. And before you go, you'll see one new life stories on your screen. Both of them are powerful, emotional, and absolutely worth watching. There's so much more waiting for you on the channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our growing family. Until the next life story, with love, respect, and gratitude.